Let's talk about my favorite books of 2025. I have 4 new favorite books like of all time, but also I have a lot of favorites just for the year, and I consider them like honorable mentions. So I will start with them. And I will start with Empire of Flame and Thorns by Marion Blackwood. Actually, this one and the second one, which is Throne of Ice and Blood, I really enjoyed the both of them equally. In this one, you follow Selena. She's a fae. And in this world, in this town, the fae are being trapped by the dragon shifters because a few millennium ago, dragon shifters were like slaves to the fae, or that's what everybody thinks, and that's what every dragon shifter say. And so now the condition of life of the fae is not good at all. And every 100 years or something like that, the fae have the opportunity to compete in a tournament to have a better way of life, and that's what Selena decides to do because she's also part of the resistance, and she's like, if I win this tournament, I can have a lot of insight with the dragon shifters. So that's her main reason. And you also follow Draven, who is the dragon shifters commander. And so it's their romance, but also their I don't know how much to say because in this one and the second one there's so many plot twists, but sometimes there are big plot twists, but sometimes it's just like you had some information all along the book and then at the end everything makes sense. And to me it felt very clever when I was reading it, especially at the end of the second one. I won't spoil it, but at the end of the second one, we realize why Draven was acting a certain way. And it was something that was hinted at since the first book, like why is he acting like that? And we learn only about it at the end of the second book, and I thought it was just so clever. So yeah, I really enjoy this series. To be honest, I read the third and the fourth one. The fifth one comes at the end of February. The third and fourth are not my favorites, and I'm excited for the series to end and see where it ends. But yeah, I'm still having a good time reading it. The next one, I talked about it quite a few times, and it's The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino. So in this one you follow Gray and Keir, and they are like a duo. She has the power and he has the ability to take her power and use them, and they are on the battlefield, they are during the war. But at some point they are tasked on a mission, like a military mission, and you follow them with a group of friends, and you also get a bit of a backstory from Gray's life and where she comes from and the stakes that her being alive entail. I just really enjoyed this book. It's not my favorite, like I said, I talked about this one quite a few times. It's not my favorite, but it's something that lingers in me, and to me the things that I remember the most is the connection between Keir and Gray and the love they have for each other, because it's kind of a best friends to lovers, and it's the fact that it's a character driven story that I love. So yeah. The next one, again with a beautiful cover, is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. So in this one you follow Sibyl, and she's kind of a lot of dust because I took my books out of the bookshelf, so if you see a lot of dust floating, that's why. Sibyl is a diviner, and she has this kind of episodes when she's drowning, so that's why you see her on the cover submerged in water. And she works for like a sort of covenant, and at some point you have a knight who comes here because he wants his prophecy, and his name is Roderick. And at some point Sibyl realizes that a lot of her like sisters are kidnapped or just disappear, and she wants to find out why, and she teams up with Roderick for that. I enjoyed this book for the atmosphere and the storyline, and it's quite it's maybe a bit weird to say, but it's quite a grey book. Like everything is quite sad and like misty. I don't know. Yeah, it's very gothic, I would say. And my favorite character in this book, and I think one of my favorite character of all year, of every book I've read last year, is the gargoyle. I love his humor so much. I love him as a character so much. And when you learn his backstory, it's very heartbreaking, but I really enjoyed this book. I probably will have to reread it when the sequel comes out. I don't know if it's a duology or not. I remember the plot twist at the end, but I think I will need like a refresher to be sure to enjoy the most I can the second book. And that will be the same thing with the next one, where we'll need to reread it to enjoy the second book. And it's Silver Elite by Nadie Francis. And in this world, you follow Ren, and it's kind of like a dystopic world where some people have powers, and when they are found out, they are killed. And the thing is that Ren has the powers, but at some point she has been like noticed by the army, and now she needs to train with the elite, hence the name. And you also follow, I don't remember, to be honest, I don't remember the name of her love. Cross. His name is Cross. And there she meets Cross. I think he was quite high ranked in the elite, and he has a lot of stakes. I think maybe one member of his family is part of like the government. And you follow them during her training, and also she needs to hide her powers. And again, plot twist towards the end, but I think I will need to reread this book. The thing I remember most about it, it's just the fun I had whilst reading it. It made me think a lot about when I was a teenager, when I was reading like Divergent and every dystopic books that came out, because I was that age when those books came out. It just made me feel like, not nostalgic, but I really enjoyed how it made me feel and the fun I had while reading it. Like I said, I think I talked about this one, I don't know, I think I talked about this one at least once, and it's not a favorite because there are some flaws about this book, some valid criticism, so that's why it's not a favorite, but yeah, still enjoyed it, still will read the sequel. Then a book completely a different genre of book is Out of the Woods by Anna Bonham-Young. So if you've seen my last video, I talked about my worst book of the years, and her latest release, People Watching, was one of my most disappointing books, and this one is one of my most favorite books. And in this one you follow Sarah and Caleb, and they have been together for quite a long time, and they are married, but now they feel like they're not on the brink of divorce, but they feel like they're not connected at all anymore. They have a hard time being a couple. So they decide to do like some sort of retreat in the woods to find each other again. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, in my worst book of the year, the things I like in Anna Bonham-Young's writing is like the fact that her characters are like very real. They feel like real people with feelings, and the way they talk and the way they interact with each other and the problems they can have. And in this one you could feel everything I love about her writing. So yeah. The next one was quite a surprise because I read the 3 other books in this series, but I really didn't like the first one, and the other 2 were just okay. And it's Lost and Lassoed by Lala Sage. I don't know why this one worked. Maybe it was the period I read this book in the year, or how I was feeling, because I don't know if I would if I reread this book, if I will feel the same way. So maybe I won't reread this one. And it's Single Dad Nanny Romance. I talked about this one, I think, again in a romance review, so I won't talk too much about this one. But I really enjoyed the connection between the two of them, the way they appreciated each other, even if at the beginning it's more like they dislike two lovers, I would say. But yeah, really enjoyed this one. Another one I would need to reread before doing the sequel, but I don't know when the sequel will be out. It's Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This one was again also a surprise because I read her A Battle of Scars and Blood, I don't remember the name, I put the cover. Like her series with the vampire, and the second was A Queen of Myth and Monsters. Hated the sequel. But I read those books and really enjoyed the first one, hated the second one. So this one I was interested because I love the idea of Lilith as a character, and what she represents for like feminism. And so I was really excited to read this one. And so you follow Lilith. In this world, women don't have a lot of powers. Like they have magical powers, but they don't have powers because of men. Surprise. And her father wants her to like get in line and get married, but she doesn't want to. And so to survive, she decides to steal artifacts and sell them. But at some point, she comes across a problem with one of the artifacts she stole because it's killing people. And you also have another kind of threat for her life, but also for like the other inhabitants of her city. And you also follow Zahariv, and is like kind of the godfather, I would say, or kind of like the ruler of one of the districts in this city. And it's also the romance between the two of them. It has kind of deep or dark subjects, like death of a loved one, death of a pregnant person, which won't be easy to read for a lot of people. So read trigger warnings before reading this one, but still enjoyed it. And now for the books I don't have in my possession. Again, a book I talked a few times. It's Warrior, Princess, Assassin by Brigitte Kemmerer. Again, it's a book I used to own, but I didn't like the cover, so I sold it. But it's a book that keeps being on my mind, and it's kind of it's not kind. It's a polyamory relationship between a princess, her childhood best friend who turned assassin, and the king, her kingdom wants her to marry. And so it's the relationship between the three of them. And you also, again, have some threats of war, of just political alliances. And you also have some backstories to mostly the assassin. Like, again, check trigger warnings for him or for the subjects of his life. So I really enjoyed this book. Again, it's not a favorite because I had a problem with the princess, the fact that she was quite naive to a lot of subjects. I know that she was quite sheltered, but again, she was quite naive for a lot of things. So sometimes it was just a bit grating when I was reading her point of view, but I still enjoyed it. When and if the second book comes out, I will read this one, but probably will need to reread the first one. But I was kicking my feet when I was reading some scenes in this book, so I had a lot of fun. Another one is A Tale of Mirth and Magic. Again, talked about this one in another video. Don't really understand the quite low ratings on Goodreads. It's a cozy fantasy with two characters who needs to go on a run because the female main character broke the wrist of somebody, and he decided to give chase and to send a lot of people after them. And the male main character decided to help her, and you follow them, you follow their story, the connection they have. And I thought I had a really good time reading this book, so yeah, don't really understand the ratings. And the last, like, honorable mention is Must Love Moss and Moonshine. Again, talked about this one in another video, I don't remember which one. And it was quite surprising because the main trope in this book is amnesia, and I hate this trope usually. But in this one, it was so sweet, it was so cozy, so heartwarming because it's a cozy fantasy. But it follows two people. One is who is like the keeper of the forest, and another one she travels a lot for her job, but she wants to find her person, she wants to settle, but at some point she gets amnesia and he rescues her, and then he wants her to retrieve her memory to be sure that she doesn't have anybody waiting for her. And she wants to retrieve her memory to know who she is, but she also has a lot of feelings for the forest keeper. So it's quite short, but it was very good. I really enjoyed the feeling it made me feel. And now, the 4 books left, like my 4 favorite of the year, which will be which will be no surprise because I talked about them quite a lot, I feel like. The first one being The Friendship Fling by Georgia Stone. So it's kind of, instead of fake dating, it's like fake friendship, because the main female character, she only has like one best friend, and this best friend is traveling away for quite a long time, and she wants to know that Eva, the main character, won't be alone the time she is away. And so Eva is like, oh no, don't worry, I have a friend, this guy, because she was like at the coffee shop. So she points to Finn, who's sitting at her coffee shop. He's like, no, this guy, he's my friend. And so they become a fake friend. And he wants to have like kind of a bucket list, because it's set in London and he's leaving London in quite a few months. So it's kind of a deal between them that she will show him the good places in London, and he will become her friend. But of course, they fall in love. It's very sweet. It's a love letter to London, and you feel again the connection between the two main characters. Next is Black Heat by Bex Hogan. In this one, you follow 3 women. One who is a princess, the other is a midwife, and the third is the blacksmith. And you follow, it's a fantasy world, and you follow them during the war, and you see how the war affect them, like with the political aspect, but also how the repercussion hits the towns where there's no fights, for example with the midwife. And at some point you see their path crossing, and you see how everything falls into place. Again, I talked about this one in one of my reviews, and I also talked about the fact that the ending was quite heartbreaking. It still is, but I will still recommend this one. It's quite a feminist story. Next, we have a book that was first published independently, but now has been picked up traditionally, and it's Fight by Sloane St. James. Love the cover, even though the cover artist has been accused of AI. And I had my doubts about the cover being AI, and then the accusations came out. I was like, shit. So now I have a book with a cover AI, allegedly. But in this one, you follow Cal Callahan, and he is a firefighter, but especially for the forest fires. And you also follow Prescott, and she is like the new EMT in this town. And if I remember correctly, at some point they have a one-night stand, or they start a relationship, then they break up, but they don't break up at the third act, like usually in romances. They break up quite early in the book, and then she doesn't know why, and she's hurt, but then there's like Mother Nature does her thing and Mother Nature reunites them together, like literally, with a snowstorm. Quite dangerous. There was a scene that made me feel quite claustrophobic whilst reading it. It was not easy to read, but I really enjoyed this book. I like, again, the connection. I'm being quite repetitive, but that's my thing, the connection between people. I like the connection. I thought also the sex scenes were quite hot. That's not a thing I say a lot, because, to be honest, when you've read so many sex scenes, at some point they just kind of resemble each other. But in this one, I remember feeling like, oh, that's quite hot. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I read the second one, so it's a series of 3 books, but written by different authors. I read the second one, it was just okay, and at the end of the third one, so... But yeah, the first one was the best for me. I recommend this one, even with the AI cover. And lastly, I think it was my first favorite of the year, because it came out at the beginning of the year, is The Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. It's the second book in the Crimson Moth duology, which I also really enjoyed, the Crimson Moth, but this one, it made me smile, it made me cry, and you're not gonna guess what I'm gonna say, what I liked more about this book. The connection between the characters. You follow Gideon and Rune, and she's a witch, he's a witch hunter, and in the first book he's pretty sure that she's a witch, but he doesn't have any proof to prove that she's a witch. So he decides to seduce her because in this world, for witch to access their magic, their power, they have to cut themselves and use their blood. And so the scar from their spell leaves like a silver mark on them. And so it's like, if I seduce her, if I sleep with her, I will see her whole naked body, and so I will know if she's a witch or not. Of course, yes, he seduces her, but also he falls in love with her, and you see that he's even against his feeling for her from a good portion of this book, which is the end of the duology. But I really enjoyed it. It made me cry at the end, and so yeah, would recommend this one. But yeah, that was it. I think maybe it was 13 or 14 total books I enjoyed this year. Like really enjoyed. And I think it was the same amount of my worst and most disappointing books, so that's a win for me. Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!